This is not going to be a normal personal branding presentation. I'm not going to teach you stuff that you can Google or Wikipedia about what a personal brand is. I am just going to share with you tonight my truth. And, you know, there's plenty of gurus out there that might disagree with me, and you might disagree with me. And in fact, I'd really like it if you did disagree with me, because that means that we agree on something already. And that's the fact that you are unique, exactly as you are, wonderfully unique. And that's what I'm going to be talking about tonight. So I would love to know a little bit about who you are, what kind of caught your attention about this training, and how you are. If you're happy, I know that maybe not everybody on here knows each other, and it might be a bit much to sort of share vulnerably already, but I would love, I'm gonna be pretty brutally honest about how I've been over the last few years. It was pretty messy, let me tell you. There was a bit of snot crying going on. And so I'd love it if you felt comfortable enough to do the same with me. There's been other times in my life where, so you guys can go on ahead and type that into the chat box. Just tell me a little bit about where you are, what kind of attracted you to this training. Some of you have been given a personal invite to me for various other reasons, so you don't have to feel like you can, you know, I'm on here because I'm going to help you write an award, Kath. You don't need to put that in there if you don't want to, Dom. But everybody else, I would love to hear where you're at in life in general. And also, you know, if you're, what you do for a job or a career, like do you have a business or are you in corporate, where you at? That'd be really cool to know too. So I have been the cranky, bitchy mum and wife over my life. I would just, you know, I'm just straight up with it. Inexplicably cranky. Wondering at times is this it? Like, is this all life's got to offer? And it felt like life was sort of happening to me and everything felt hard and communication didn't flow easily with my ex-husband. Yes, you'll hear that story, not all of it, but the bits that are relevant. And I'd never really kind of fit into any sort of employment model, even though when I was sort of being fully myself, you know. And so don't worry, this is not a webinar on how to start your own business. We're going to go full circle on this one. There was always something missing and unfulfilled for me. So again, I'd love it if you could be honest with where you're at in that context. Like, are you feeling a bit burnt out? Are you a bit shitty that things haven't kind of gone to plan to where you thought you would be at this point in your life with your career or your business? And while you tell me about that, I'll tell you a little bit about more about how we sort of ended up here together tonight. And then I'll make it super relevant to you. So I don't actually love talking about myself. My older sister is a much more of a presenter than I am, and I was always the stage manager behind the scenes, pressing play on the AV buttons, you know. So, but I was watching something on YouTube the other night, a carpenter making a workshop that my partner was watching, and he started, and I'd been sort of reflecting on whether I should talk about myself in this presentation. And he told this really beautiful story about himself, and he talked about himself for like 20 minutes, and I was completely engrossed in it, and I realized that it's actually kind of okay to talk about yourself as long as there's a lesson in it for everybody. And so I think that you'll probably find quite a few lessons for you here tonight. So for those who don't know who I am and why I'm qualified to talk about this topic, here's a little bit about me. So over the last 10 years, this is sort of what I've been up to. Prior to that, I was the really cranky, bitchy mum, really lost, but sort of a chrysalis sort of started to emerge over the last sort of, I guess, 6 to 8 years. And in that time, I created over 75 brand strategies, websites, paid advertising campaigns, social media strategies, coached a bunch of people around the world, used to kind of scoot around Australia before COVID, coaching lots of people in free workshops. I've been pretty lucky to speak on a bunch of stages with other mentors that have invited me to talk to their audience, and I was an Optus and My Business Awards judge for a few years as well. And I have most recently started to be more visible around this sort of service suite and the personal branding space because I kind of realized that was what I was doing. That's what I'm going to tell you about in a minute. But I started getting featured on a few Ticker TV, and prior to that, Channel 9, ABC, and a bunch of other podcasts here in Australia and around the world. So it's exciting, and I've just been putting myself out there and trying to get aligned opportunities, and that's what I want for you as well. But all of those things, when they were sort of through the wrong lens, were nowhere near as satisfying as what I would love to share with you for what's possible for you tonight. So I'm just going to jump in and look at who we've got here tonight. So we have got amazing, awesome Karen, a new coaching business, great career, branding, marketing institutions. I have not the first clue how to get the courage to brand and market myself. I feel pretty good about life at the moment. High five. Cool, Karen. Thank you. Yay, Dom. Hi, Dom. Copywriter in Bali, but also an anti-personal trainer. Ooh, this is the business we need to learn about. Yes. And raring to go with that goal. Awesome. Kayama. Hi, Kai. Brisbane and personal cleaning concierge. I'm here because I've worked with you, my wonderful cat. Yes, beautiful. Hello. Kaylee, hello. Kaylee's already on to everybody else. Encouraging the chat. Kaylee is amazing. Kaylee's got a business. She's done like 100 lunches with strangers and more, and she's very good at starting conversations. So that's what she's up to in the chat. Previous corporate. We met, Lisa, have we met in New Zealand, maybe? Where's Lisa? I can't see your face. Oh, there you are. Oh, have we met before in person or not?
No, it's the fact that you said New Zealand, I did live there for a year, so maybe I'm not sure.
Oh.
Sasha Sullivan.
Awesome. Excellent.
Yeah, recommend me jump in. So that's the connection there. So
gorgeous. Excellent. Thank you. That's the other thing. Would you guys mind, because I've done a few different lead generation strategies for tonight, and I am just trying to work out what works. If you can just type into the chat channel how you found me, that would be just so helpful for what to put my energy into. Normally I don't ask these things on webinars, but it's, like I said, the beginning of everything. Kaylee's there. I think that's actually Mira, not Tim. Left corporate on the 1st of April and started her business early last year in coaching, running events for women, refining my message. Awesome. Janelle, mum, PT, cancer survivor, moving into the coaching space, very overwhelmed in solopreneur. Yes, it is all too fucking hard. I can completely understand that, and was put here to help people. I know, isn't it annoying when you're like just here to light up the world and help people, and you spend so much of your time trying to work out a conversion funnel just so you can get people on a call? Hence why I'm asking the question. Let's not let that hold us up. Awesome. Maria, start a new program. Amazing. Okay, good. I'm getting a really good idea of who's on the call. Helen. Hello, Helen. Beautiful. Refocusing. Yes, I've done some work together. I know all about you. Beautiful. Excellent. Thank you. Good. Louise, relationship coach. Yes, Louise and I have spoken to, so I know who's on the call. Awesome. Excellent. Okay, good. So it feels like there is a lot of people here really, unsurprisingly, because it was advertised as this, to understand the concept of personal brand. Now, I'm going to give you a bit of a different spin on that, and sort of help you create a personal brand from a very connected and authentic you version. So let's jump in. So a quick reframe. Personal brand, some people sort of think of that as personal styling, the clothes you wear, your website, all of these different things. But I want you to think of it more for the purpose of today as a catch-all phrase for how people perceive you. And it's not your business. It's not your career role, like an accountant or whatever. That's your service suite. A personal brand is more nebulous than that, actually. It's a perception or an emotion that's maintained by someone other than you, that describes the total experience of having a relationship with you. So you guys are already picking up on my vibe. Like, I bet you guys could probably almost like fill out a personality profile test for me and get all the right answers of what my personal brand is all about. So just want you to sit with that for a second for you. So human beings are really energetic creatures. Like, think of a baby when they're first born, like they're totally responding to your energy, So they, we have this obviously innate, predisposition to see people's energy, to sort of think about think of like, or sort of experience them through your head, your heart, and your gut, sort of all at the same time. And usually other people sort of see you better than you see yourself sometimes. I'd be so interested to know what people's perception of me is. Hopefully it's in alignment with what I hope it is. But the thing is, right, it doesn't go away. You can't, even if you think you don't have to worry about a personal brand, then you absolutely do, because this exists whether you've consciously curated it or not. It's there. And again, this is the whole you I'm talking about, not your business, even if it seems like those things are you. So it's really important that that lands. It's that your career, your LinkedIn, your websites, your programs, your products, they are all representations of your work life and a result of your personal brand and doing the right work from the right place. Built on a tapestry of your life experiences, your skills, your gifts, and more. So I'm really talking about what is that unique value proposition of you, or as I like to call it, your unique contribution. So we're going to get into sort of unpicking how we get to the bottom of this. Good, I'm just noticing a couple of chats there. Good. So there's a question mark in the middle and lots of cool diagrams. So I'm going to start to tell you a little, this is where I'm going to bang on about myself for a minute, but only because you'll be able to hear yourself in this, especially if there's a few entrepreneurs and coaches and passionate beings on here that might have been like a little honey eater, jumping from, you know, flower to flower and sucking all the nectar out in life, you know. So you guys are going to love this. So as a kid, this little unit down here, oh, there's some weird... Okay, there's something, I think there's something weird on the screen, but anyway. As a kid, I loved to ask lots of questions. In fact, I used to get criticised about, you know, my curiosity was sort of something that God, you ask a lot of questions, don't you? You need a set of encyclopedias. Well, newsflash, we already had one. They didn't have the answers I wanted to know. I loved setting up Barbie doll games. Didn't like playing them, just loved the setup. So my younger sister had that yellow Barbie trailer, and she ended up with the Barbie that we'd cut all the hair off and hoped it would grow back, so crew cut Barbie. And she ended up with trailer trash Barbie, and I had the 8-ball table out in the rumpus room, and on top of the 8-ball table was my Barbie ballroom, and downstairs was a whole bunch of little rooms, you know, set up with hard-covered books, and I spent like half of Saturday, more than half, like till 2 p.m. setting it up, and Trailer Trash Barbie would keep coming and knocking on my imaginary door like, can we play? I'm like, no, I'm not ready. I'm still creating the scene, setting up the story, you know. I loved also performing dances, again, not actually doing the dances, but setting them up, choreographing them, you know, getting it all organized, telling stories, connecting with people. I was very emotional and empathic as a kid, a bit anxious at times, even a bit of a worrywart. Loved nature, bush. I studied geography, all of those things. I lived by the sea. I'd spend all afternoon down at the sea, you know, at the seashore with my little sort of investigator's book, identifying different shells and crabs and things. Super curious, loved, you know, sort of setting things up, loved asking questions, wondering, synthesizing information. That's how it all started. Until then, life started to, so, you know, pop a few masks on and be a bit more like this or do a bit more like that. So when I got to 19, I topped my class at uni with in my journalism degree. Perfect, right? So asking a lot of questions. Yep. Tick, journalist. Told some stories, yeah, cool. But I sort of ended up in news journalism, so there wasn't that many stories to tell. I just was sort of really reporting what went on, so there was no real creativity in news. So then I found myself down the documentary path, and I was a researcher, and I ended up working for a doco company all about animal rescue in WA, actually. And while I was over there, I sort of, you know, sort of look back and think, gee, that was such a fantastic job. I was only 20. Got to travel all up to the Pilbara, all over Australia, researching and finding stories of people that were rescuing animals, and we got to travel around. And so all of the creative stuff was amazing and why I loved the job. But part of the job was also because they were short budget, you know, had to do kind of 2 roles, and I had to be a TV production coordinator as well. So that was organising the crews, you know, making sure everyone had eaten their lunch, turning up on time, being really detail focused. And I'll never forget that even though I was in the coolest industry at the time, especially at that age, that I found myself quite unhappy. And it was because things like this kept happening. This horrible director woman one day who lived by herself and later admitted to me that she was a bit of a twat, self-confessed twat, and that she should probably have not yelled at me the way she did. She goes, she locked me in the edit suite and she goes, you are so good at A, B, and C, but follow through to X, Y, and Z, Catherine. I just, and I was like, well, you. So I'm not scared to call people on their bullshit. She was 3 times my age and 3 times more experienced than me, or infinitely more experienced than me. And I was like, well, you. Anyway, she thanked me for that later. Wasn't a great moment, but thing is, I'm not detail oriented. I'm not good at, doing things, maintaining things over a really long period of time. So when I chucked in my television career and jumped on a plane and went to Paris and worked in a bakery and ended up managing it and coming back and starting my own cute little baking business, because wouldn't that be a great idea when I had kids? Was awesome in the setup. Brand story, cute logo, tick, tick, farmer's market stall. Oh, yes, put all that stuff there. Da, 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 da. Fast track to maintenance mode, where I got to the bit where I had to actually keep turning up and baking the cakes and to keep driving around Melbourne delivering them. I was like, I really don't like this place. Like, I walk into the kitchen and I was like, oh, God, really? Again? The same shit again? Okay. So there was some reconnection to the creativity in that, but I sold that business. Off that went. Even though it was super successful. And I actually watched in Kaylee's group today, someone posted a Tony Robbins video that said success without fulfillment is not actually success. And I thought, God, that's a really good succinct way of saying what I'm trying to say. So I was getting write-ups for this bakery in all sorts of different magazines and things like that, Epicure and newspaper stuff. And, David Jones ended up supplying my cakes or buying my cakes. But I wasn't happy. I just wasn't fulfilled. It wasn't giving me something more. So because of the brand strategy side of setting up that business, I went into digital marketing and started doing that. And again, off we go again, writing stories, asking questions, creating campaigns, getting clients, chatting, connecting, all of the stuff, asking questions. And I added in a membership. That was a bad move. Because what was happening was, even though I was getting really amazing clients and I was really good at selling them into this membership, I slowly realized what was happening was that they were buying the vision that I saw that was possible for them. So I've got this weird, wonderful gift where I can hear you talking passionately about the thing that you love. And all the things that you love. And in my mind, it's like some sort of, Russell Crowe in A Beautiful Mind. Like, there's just sticky notes all over the wall and writing everywhere. And it just starts to come out at me and drawing together into this jigsaw puzzle and synthesize into the one thing or the one concept, your unique contribution. And I was doing this unknowingly on the sales calls. And they were like, oh my God, you so get me. I so want to be a part of your program. Da, da, da. And that was awesome, except for when they got chucked into the marketing membership that I thought they'd bought. And they got my general manager, Amanda, and they started learning all about marketing tactics. So I was like, this is sort of, they never really said this wasn't what I bought. But they started acting as if it was. So they stopped kind of doing the work and started booking more calls with me, which meant I was starting to burn out again. Re-enter cranky, bitchy mum wife, So even though I'd created my own business and I was, here I was again, burning out because I was a giver. And I kept showing up to the calls and I eventually fell in a heap again. So in COVID, I collapsed. And frankly, I needed a bit of a rest. I was back to being that yelly mum again. And I'd built a business again on one version of me. Think of yourself as a diamond, and you might shine yourself out through one facet in any different part of your life. But there's something at the core that holds it all together. And I'm not saying it doesn't take work to stay tuned in to what feeds you and stay tuned into that positive feedback loop that feeds you. But when you shine out through one facet of your diamond, especially if it's had a kind of, I hope you know what I mean, but got a mask on, that's like something that you've sort of done because it worked at the time, but you weren't consciously choosing it, then that is the fast track to burnout. When you start creating, like for a lot of you, by the sounds of it, are coaches, when you start creating programs just because the other gurus told you to do it that way, and it doesn't fit you and it doesn't fit what you want to give to the world, that's when you're going to end up in burnout. So I am all for creativity and innovation and doing things differently. I am all for designing from your authentic whole self rather than a version of you that feels like society might accept, So this philosophy of mine, when you build a brand on the foundations of your most authentic whole self, we become more fulfilled, more confident. And like those magnetic people, when they just walk in a room and they're high vibing, and and they don't have to be massively extroverted, but they just grab you, like they're magnetic, and you just think, like, I'll have what she's having. How do I show up like that? That is the output of designing from your personal brand, from this whole authentic self, being super conscious of what it is that you want to put out in the world, because that is what makes you, number one, way more effective. And I mean this, like, what are you saying yes to and what are you saying no to? How's that lining up to your bigger vision? Because every time you say yes to something you should have said no to, you are taking up the space for something that should have been a yes, You get more impactful because you get more focused and you get more done that matters. And then you become beautifully influential. And by that, I mean, like, you literally just walk in and there is, like, I don't know if you'll believe me yet, but trust me, if you hang around me long enough, you will. It's not hard. Life isn't hard. You can just show up, and your light, as is, unadulterated, is enough, and it transforms and ripples out to the people around you. So many people I talk to just want to do better for the planet and for humanity. And I'm like, so just show up. That's all you've got to do, actually. We love to overcomplicate it as humans, but this is where it starts. When we're in that state, when we're in that influential, impactful, effective state, it's pretty hard to be bitchy and martyry and like life happening to you, It's pretty hard to bitch over the water cooler when you've got nothing to bitch about, because you see the growth and the fulfillment opportunity in everything. I mean, if you want to, you can develop a personal brand from what your colleagues or clients or family expect of you, or the next guru. Thanks, Lisa. And you can be like I was, like the people pleaser in the early days. Like, that worked for me. Like, I was pretty bloody popular. I got a lot of opportunities by saying yes to everyone all the time, of course, It was a bit like, sort of like represented in my cake business. I want it to be seasonal, local, sustainable, support small scale farmers, but also be super competitively priced. And I'll never forget my cousin. She's done an MBA and worked for Cadbury Schweppes. And she's like, okay, what you're doing is straddling two markets. It's no wonder you're in every cafe in Melbourne, because you're cheap, but you're amazing. So let's talk about this. And she was so right. So it's hard to say no when things look like such a great opportunity in front of you. But if I'd listened to that knowledge in the early days of my TV career, I might still be there. And I do actually want to make documentaries eventually, as part of the iteration of what I'm here and what my vision is, which is basically to make people happier between 9 and 5. Because I just reckon if everybody's a little bit happier between 9 and 5, they're not coming home and being bitchy and miserable and rubbing off on their kids and everyone around them. And I know that that's a big dream, because I know the corporate world's got a lot to answer for. But I just reckon that that's the seeds that I'm planting that I'll never see grow, is just that, we can actually create more a happier 9 to 5, because then the world's just that much less negative, But if I'd listened to that early on in my career, I wouldn't have got that drift. So what happened with my TV career was I loved all the researching and storytelling stuff, but because I happened to have to do the coordinating stuff, and because I was young and easily influenced, I thought, well, I better do a great job of that. I got more well known for the coordinating and got less opportunities in the research and the storytelling. So I got this drift. And then before I knew it, 15 years later, I'm sort of way down the wrong path, being all coordinating in life. But when I met my partner and he allowed me the space to sort of really explore my creativity and what this was and create all of this, so much happier. It's like not even so much happier, just like happy, fulfilled. So that drift that happens is because you start saying yes to things that you should have said no to. And you feel yourself sort of getting a bit discontent and burnt out. And it feels like all of a sudden you're sort of looking around out of nowhere going, gee, like, oh, how did I get so burnt out all of a sudden? Well, it's not really from nowhere, because those tiny little yelps from your inner authentic self were screaming every time you said yes to the wrong thing. Every time you put your genius in the wrong context. Like me, like criticized as a kid for asking too many questions. Well, screw you dudes. That's what I do for a living now. That's how I make money, and that's what people love about me, is because I'm so interested all the time. So let's take stock of where you're at. Pop in the chat channel if you feel like this is, it might but not be a massive revelation. It might just be a little reminder. That's okay. Maybe pop in their revelation or reminder. That'd be nice to know what you guys are thinking. Just going to have a quick look. Yeah. Yes. Raising the vibration. Yes. Good. Yes. Lovely. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So, yeah, there's no new ideas, right? Like, that's the other thing we've got to come to terms with. There's no new ideas. It's just a different version of it. So let's take stock of where you're at. If you're feeling like you're a bit burnt out or sort of questioning, how did I get here? Why isn't this, sort of more what I imagined it to be? Then it might be time to rediscover your authentic self and get some aligned direction. If you've been yearning to be seen and understood for the authentic you, not the masked version that sort of worked okay up until now, but all of it, like reconnect back to the true you and create more aligned opportunities for your business or career in general. Or if you just need someone to articulate that little glow that you feel like you've got on the inside. One of my so I said that this is a new service suite and this is a new presentation, but in fact I've done 30 beta tests of my service to some women last year, and one of them was Sarah, and she said, I feel like all of this I knew on the inside, but I just couldn't get the words out to articulate it on the outside. She said, you've given me like sort of that lighthouse beam so I know how to say it to the rest of the world. And if you want to be more confident in the contribution that you have and show up as her, then we're going to make some magic. So I had this slide in here in case I needed to check the chat. And I do, and I can see it all, and I'm loving it. Thank you. Yay. So, all right. I think I've kind of gone over this. So there's this common thread between all of these things. So they're common threads in your life as well. What's your life tapestry? And if you examine them closely enough, which by the way can take 2 years, and I know, thanks 2020 and 2021, if you want to do it for yourself, could have used someone like me for the last couple of years. But you can get some pretty profound guidance on who the real you is if you start examining the threads. So, but here's a little warning, caveat sort of warning here, that you're going to need to know the difference between the emergency oxygen masks that you put on through your life to get by. And I mean, the sort of crap that you ate just to feed your family or keep the peace or be cool, be accepted, be lovable. Meet everybody else's expectations. So if you don't yet know which bits are those bits, you can still do them, but if you don't consciously know, if there's some messiness around whether that's actually you, like the people pleaser thing for me, do I like being her or don't I like her? And I really had to get to know which parts of it I liked, like I love being generous, but where does that stop and where does pleasing start, you know? So all of these things have got this sort of pendulum that swings from disempowered to, you know, quite powerful, and you, or sort of even overexpressed, if you like. So there's this sort of power center on all of these traits that you need to be able to sort of shed off what's not working and what's not helping, and just keep the core juiciness, that authentic core juiciness in the middle. So let's find that common thread that empowers you and doesn't take away from you, so it doesn't end in burnout. So in 2020, I began to take off a lot of those masks. I did it to start with when I divorced my husband in 2017. We'd been together since a very young age, so we grew up together, and it was just got to that point where we'd just grown apart, and I was blossoming into a woman. And with all my womanly wonderness, and you know, it wasn't comfortable for him anymore, so off he went. Well, I gave him the flick. So anyway, the journey started there. And then, but this was a thing, right? So in that, for a couple of years after that, I was like, yeah, so expressive, like traveling all around Australia, you know, thinking, oh, what a powerful, wonderful experience this is. I'm like an, you know, international traveler. I can go anywhere, master of my own time, live in an amazing apartment in Thornbury, looking out over Melbourne, and pop down to the pub when I feel like it. You know, kids off with dad every second week. Like, you know, I'm Wonder Woman, you know. But then COVID came along, and I was like, shit, there's no one around anymore. Like, there's no external validation for how great I am. It's all gone. And I'm just hiding in this house in the shitty suburbs of Melbourne, you know, because I had to move in with my partner. Not that it wasn't his house, it was just a situation that we were in, doesn't matter, but I had to give up my amazing apartment, blah, blah, blah. Lots of other people in a worse situation. But anyway, I think I got a bit depressed, to be honest with you. It got pretty miserable. But at the same time, this really beautiful thing happened, and it was quite poetic. While I was in complete kind of self-examination misery, I was also being allowed a space that he granted me to be psychologically safe to examine this stuff, but also to create a relationship with my child. Because in all of the wonderful, you know, off here, off there, I'd completely, you know, I'd sort of made myself too busy and unavailable for him, even though he was sort of, you know, I'd sort of told myself some stories that he was fine and that but you know, he probably wasn't. He probably just needed me. And I took that space to homeschool him and just turn it all off, finish my marketing membership, and just sat. And I had this idea for this Impact Alchemy thing that I now do. And I let it brew, and it got pretty messy. 200 and whatever days of lockdown. Like, how privileged am I, just for a second, like being able to navel gaze in lockdown while everybody else is probably trying to feed their families. I was really lucky, and I'll acknowledge that. But at the same time, I was also managing this moving feast of emotions with my child and my partner and just like the world. So it was just, I don't know, it was just a good melting pot, a good cauldron for some witchy cool stuff to happen. But I did come out the other side doubting if I'd ever have any confidence to relaunch my business and make it successful again. And if I did, what on earth would it actually look like? Because, you know, all the other gurus had told me to do it this way, but I didn't want to do it that way because it didn't feel right. And that void became claustrophobic, but also beautiful, because in that I had to ground the real me. I had to take off, and I'm, you know, as we all are, a work in progress. More masks came off, and I got to interrogate it on another level. Hence some of the snot crying to Sia and dancing in this office. It was, you should have seen me before the last webinar I ran. Whew! That was really messy. So I started playing some games on myself that I've developed for my clients to play with them now. That the games don't involve snot crying. You don't have to do these ones. I have been told that the games that you play in sort of the pre-work of working with me are actually almost as valuable as the actual session with me itself. And it's really quite enjoyable. And the game is designed to find the common threads. But I'm going to give you a bit of a version of that tonight so you can take something away with you and have a bit of a play with it. So I went and played all those games with myself and found this grounded, connected, curious, nebulous, but totally reliable at the same time, like kind of like real moving energy, but really reliable and grounded, creative but organized, chatty but reflective. Like this was what was happening. Like when you start to sort of find the commonalities, you can be this weird, wonderful dichotomy, two sides of the same coin kind of thing. And I found 2 words to describe myself that now are my guide for everything that I do. And my 2 words are courageous expansion, by the way, but your 2 words are going to be something different. And there's some people on here that have done the alchemy with me and they've got their 2 words. And the 2 words, really interestingly, and this is maybe a bit meta, but for me, there's a tension between the 2 words. There's something wonderful that happens between those 2 words that creates this space for occupation, like courageous expansion. They just have this real frequency to them for me, and in between those 2 words is the space that I occupy. And everything that I do in life, I look at it through that lens, through that space, to make sure that it's fulfilling on those levels. I choose mentors that will operate in that space with me, and they guide me every day in every interaction and every choice that I make. And it keeps my pendulum from swinging between crazy extrovert, overexpressed, mad hatter, to sobbing in tears in my office, snot crying, oh my God, is anyone ever gonna love me again? Like, you know, yeah, it's ugly. So I try and just keep it in that spotlight in the middle where that power center, because that's where I can make my contribution. That's my unique contribution. So what is, let's just kind of, you know, give you a bit of a what do you call it? A bit of a definition of what a unique contribution is. So all people have an innate and very unique set of characteristics that identifies their value. And when I'm working with someone, I simplify it down into a Venn diagram visual that sort of helps them understand how they make people feel, why people come to them, and how they feel after their time with them. And I use that to package up the person in a really powerful, aligned way. And then I create it into an Impact Alchemy profile. It's like a person, you know, those personality profiles that you do, and whenever you do it, it's like, you know, you're a yellow, blue personality, or you're a, I don't know what the Myers-Briggs are, wherever you are on this chart, star creator, you know, all those things. And it's cool, but it's somebody else's words, and you know that there's a programming tool in the background going like, if she answers yes to this, shove that sentence into the paragraph of describing her at the end, or da-da-da, you know. And so it's just a little bit less than, you know. It's really nice when someone actually listens to every word that you have to say and synthesizes it into a gift back to you as a profile. So you'll learn a little bit more about what your unique contribution is, or at least, yes, it is recorded, Janelle. You will learn a little bit more about your unique contribution at the end, because I'm going to give you some games to go and play. But I can't really tell you how I do mine, because it's sort of like Tiger Woods trying to explain, like, not that I would compare myself to his genius, but, you know, if he was to try and explain to you why he's an excellent golfer, it's probably, I don't know, maybe you could explain a bit of it, but it's quite hard. So it's just cool, because this is just it. This is just how it is. And you've got something like that too, that no one can replicate. You can use gurus, funnels, and da-da-da-da to market it, but how cool would it be if you knew what it was just you did that wasn't actually replicable? It's how you show up, you know. You could offer exactly the same service as the next person, but because you do it your way, they want to work with you, you know, or they want to hire you. It's how you bundle up that weird and wonderful energy that you don't even realize that you're selling, that people are buying. Just like what was happening on my sales calls. And it fuels some pretty epic personal awareness for life too, by the way. It really helps. Like, this is not separate to your relationships, you know, at home, with your family. It's really nice to be able to tell somebody who you are. It's really nice to be able to say to your partner, I love you. Thank you for your feedback about how undetailed I am and how I should focus more. Thanks, babe. but I'm really happy being a creator, and I'm going to have to put some systems in place to take care of the other stuff because it just ain't my genius zone. So, as I said, last year we spent some time beta testing this with 30 women, and I whittled it down. So this is for you, especially for the coaches and the business owners out there. So I knew on the inside it was courageous expansion. It took a little bit of, the birth canal space to work out that who I wanted to work with. And I will give you an activity here so you can kind of have a bit of an idea of who your people should be. And this is different to your niche. I'll get to that in a minute. But when I knew the contribution I had to make, it was much easier picking a niche. And therefore my messaging came a lot easier too. So now I know that my messaging is own your uniqueness, amplify your impact. And this is my little byline, right? Build a work life around your life's work. It resonates with enough people that it's big enough to get publicity. It's small enough to be sort of, hitting you right between the eye if it's something, if you're feeling unfulfilled. That's where you can take this if you want to. If you've got a coaching business, for example, this is just my example, but if you've got a coaching business, it would work well for you too. This space now happens for me. Like I get to create every single day. I've got a big whiteboard behind me. And today I spent another day writing up another Impact Alchemy for somebody and creating a whole coaching program for them out of what their Impact Alchemy started to be. For other people, it's going to be more about, let me just pop over here. Actually, I'm just going to quickly, where is it? Here we go. I'm just going to jump my slides for a second. If you're a career person, a consultant, say, or high potential corporate talent, emerging leaders, then what you can do when you understand your authentic personal brand is basically duplicate yourself. Like I get so many consultants coming to me that are doing like $1 million in revenue by themselves going, like recruitment consultants and stuff like, but I can't hire anyone because they just need to be a duplicate of me. And I'm like, well, cool, let's do your personal brand. Let's work out what makes you you and let's make it duplicable, because there's bits that are, I know I just said that there's one really unique part of you that, of course, there's that bit, but this can start you off in organizing making processes out of your creativity. I've done it with myself. Like this Impact Alchemy to begin with was just this mad, wonderful, bloody whiteboard craziness to start with, but I have systematized how I am creative because I know what my contribution is. You can create aligned leadership frameworks, get aligned career opportunities, hire the right people that complement your skills because now you know who you are, so you know what you're not. Sell yourself more effectively. So that's for coaches, for career people, but for coaches, that plus your own unique coaching program. You might have gone off and studied kinesiology, tapping, trauma therapy, feminine leadership skills, this, that, and you've got all the tools in your tool belt, but you don't know how to bring them together into one unique coaching program that's your IP and your thought leadership that you're going to write your books and your chapters in your book about. And also your customer experience. Like imagine being able to sort of create a customer experience that's so wonderfully unique to you, that people felt that energy, that they bought from you on the sales call the whole way through the process because you consciously crafted it. So, and again, yeah, so all the hiring and da-da-da-da. So let me go back. Let's go back. Yeah. All right. So we've talked about the top 3 parts here, the personal brand being actually a conscious curation, authentic curation of the external perception of you. And the way to get that, my methodology, you don't have to agree, is your Impact Alchemy. Sorry, I'm just making sure there's no notes in the thingy bobs. Yes. So the Impact Alchemy is made up of, and I'm going to give you a little process in case you want to sort of start playing with it yourself in a minute. But of course, if you want to, play with me, then you're more than welcome to. Fulfillment principles. So let's start in the middle and work our way out. So the unique contribution, we've talked about that. So it starts there. And once we know what your genius zone is, your unique value proposition, your unique contribution, whatever that thing is you want to talk about, then we're going to marry it up with what your competencies and skills are. What are the things that you learnt It's flipped. The stuff that you're naturally good at or that you learnt and you enjoyed throughout your career, not leave the other stuff behind. Your fulfillment principles, they work really well when you know, like I said, in my profiles, I do up 5 fulfillment principles, and it's not like, connection or expansion. It's more descriptive than that. And they're not really even your values. It's probably a little bit of both of those things. I like to think of them as principles because it's your principles. It's like if a career opportunity comes at you or a program collaboration comes at you, you can use your fulfillment principles to filter, to percolate that opportunity through and go, right, will it marry up to those 5 principles, yes or no? Oh, look, it only marries up to 3 of them. I'm still going to say yes to it, but I know that it's not going to fulfill me on that level, and that's why I'll do it short term rather than long term or whatever, right? But it also informs the customer experience that you want to put out to people. When you're designing your retreats, your coaching program, how do I want them to feel at every step of the interaction, And then your contribution crew. So I really wanted you to think about all this stuff. This is the stuff that no one talks about in marketing. They talk about the customer, where's the opportunity in the market? Who's the person that you should target? Just choose a niche. Just pick any niche. No, don't pick any niche, unless you just want to hate your business in 5 years' time, like I did with the baking, I mean, that was for a different reason, but still, don't just, that it was more so my marketing, like small business owners. I love working with them. I want to give them everything, but it just doesn't work for me on a long-term model because they don't have time to implement what I say. It wasn't using my gift to its full capacity. So anyway, we won't rant on about that, but contribution crew. Start with who would be so and most receptive of your impact. I know my niche so well now, and I know the difference between the impact alchemies that are really easy to write and the ones that are just slightly harder, which means I can niche even further, believe it or not. But it started from my contribution, not from what the market told me I should, like where the opportunity was, And my impact vision. This is the guiding light at the end of the tunnel. What are the seeds that I'm planting for trees I'll never see grow? What's your sort of ginormous why divided by your achievable purpose? And so for me, it's just, I want to save the planet, like basically to the point where I reckon, we should just not occupy Mars. I don't deserve redundancy. Not at this stage anyway. You might disagree with me. I've got some pretty strong opinions on that. But I just think let's not put a problem somewhere else and let's just stay here and fix it by being loving and kind with each other. So that's my sort of really big vision. I want to save the world, as we all do. But my smaller vision is I just want to make people happier between 9 and 5, because when you're happier between 9 and 5, you're giving more positive energy to the world instead of sucking it away with your negativity. So that's my impact vision, and everything lines up to that. So that's the 5 sort of steps, or the 5 parts of your profile. So now I'm going to give you an activity. And if you would like to, I will email this work. I've got a little workbook that you can, so if you just if you don't mind popping your name in the chat channel if you want the workbook, and Tim will email it out to you tomorrow. So, Mira, I'm just reading your your post. Yes. My son doesn't say that to me, but my partner says it all the time. So here's my little game. So your unique contribution, let's start with this. Unpack your unique value. So, get to the bottom of just what you think. Like, just make a bit of meditation space for yourself and really tune into your true frequency. This is a right brain activity, not a left brain one. Go with your gut feeling. What's the energetic space you create? Like, what do people say about you? Like, I met Mira yesterday morning, was it yesterday? Mira runs a coaching business just here in Eltham where I live, and I wanted to connect with some like-minded women, and she runs this coffee catch-up, which is so simple and beautiful. And I knew from her photo when I saw her that she was going to be exactly like this. And when I walked in the room, Mira's got this grace, like a regality and a grace that she just holds, and you feel completely accepted. and wonderfully interesting in her company, and she doesn't say a word. Like, that's what I mean about your energetic space. Like, what is that? You know, that's yours, Mira. There you go. You've got a little bit of homework head start. How do you help people? Sort of what do people come to you for, you know? Competencies and skills. What are you naturally good at? What did you learn to love, learn to be good at? Fulfillment principles. List your values and give them a definition. That's a good start. This is all just a starting place. Obviously, you know, if we work together, we go into a lot more depth. I've pinched some of my concepts from my Finish the Sentences game here to get you a little bit of a win. Contribution crew. What type of people generally appreciate my ideas? So I find that I work best with people that have done a lot of personal development already, or at least some, you know, they've got to be a bit personally aware, you know. If they come to me and tell me that there's just no way that that's possible, then I can pretty much be sure that they're not going to be a good fit for me, because I believe in everything's possible. So what type of people appreciate my ideas? How do I communicate best? Is it, you know, talking? Is it drawing pictures? What is it, you know? And what are the seeds that you're planting of trees that you'll never see grow? And also, this is a good one for getting to the bottom of what sort of really is driving you. What frustrates you about society or people or humanity? Like, if you just had all the money and the time in the world, what problem would you solve? That's a really juicy one to get to the heart of what you really give a shit about. So I'm just checking. Yes, people have popped in there. Good. That workbook. Good. So Tim, thank you. Oh, yay. So I'll get that sent out tomorrow. Just going to jump back through these slides. Oh my God, I'm on time. Can you believe it? Apparently I've got organised. Yes. So by now you'll know the importance of curating a personal brand, you know, purposefully, not accidentally. If you're in business or in a career, then you already have one, so you need to take control of it. And taking control of it is to be heartful about what you're putting out there. Get out of your head and into your heart and work your way through those exercises that I've given you. And when you're working in your true alignment to your most expansive, it's so easy, it almost feels criminal getting paid for this kind of thing, then you know that you've hit ease and flow. And I always just like to give people a little visual of this. You know, on Finding Nemo, when the turtles are rushing past in the ocean current and poor Finding Nemo's dad is, Nemo's dad's just sort of on the outside of the ocean current. And he's managed to attract the most forgetful fish in the whole ocean that just keeps swimming around and losing her mind every 3 seconds and just making life really hard for him because they keep getting lost. You know, she keeps stuffing up and he's like in a panic energy and everything's kind of going wrong for him. And then meanwhile, those turtles are just cruising past and they're all going to the same place. They're all going to Sydney. But the turtles, they're not questioning anything. They're just going with the flow. And I'm not saying that the flow is easy to find, but I'm telling you now, there is an undercurrent and it exists. And it exists in every single woman and man that's on this call right now. And we can tap into each other's and we can co-create the solutions to the problems that we're facing right now. We don't have to do it alone. There is an undercurrent that wants to change. You know, that collective navel gaze that everyone's been doing over the last few years, wanting to just be in a more purposeful, meaningful world, saying no to things that just don't serve them anymore, no to the busyness, all of those things. So keep doing that, you know, say no to the negativity and yes to the opportunities that are aligned. And then even if you start looking into the world with that viewpoint, then life starts happening for you, not to you. And that ease and flow is becomes sustainable. You end up like the turtles, you know, because if there's a lesson and a way to grow in everything and a way to be unattached to outcomes, then you are opening a platform for any wonderful possibility to come across your path and things to be far easier than you could ever have imagined. And a consciously curated personal brand creates you that. Confidence, influence, impactful, effective, and as a result, a leader. Someone that people look up to. So, my lovelies, I will send out the workbook tomorrow, and I'd like to make a little offer to you. If you feel like you've resonated with me and that you feel like now's the right time to look into this a little bit more for you, this is the process that we would do that, because it is really important that we're a fit for each other. So we'd make a 15-minute call, and that's the link there, and Tim's going to pop it into the chat channel now. I think you can click on it. So just click on it and open it up on your screen and leave it hanging there. And bring your worksheets to that call, like bring the workbook, and we'll go through some of the questions and we'll just get a bit of a gauge. Because if honestly, I think that you can get on with doing it yourself. I'm not saying that having a reflection from somebody else wouldn't always be helpful. We all know it is, but you might have someone special in your life already. You might have a mentor or a coach that this just might be a little bit more information and a different perspective that you could present to your mentor or coach, and you could go down that path with them. And I'll tell you if I feel like that's where you're at. But if I feel like there is some way to help you, then of course I will offer my help, and we'll make a second call, which will be 45 minutes. And at that point in that call, we will go through making a plan for you. We'll get to the bottom of how you want to create this in your business or in your career. And we'll look at how the Impact Alchemy will serve that, and we can map out a bit of a plan. There won't be anything to buy on the first call. It's just a 15-minute do we fit? Is this going to work for you and work for me? The second call is a 45-minute call where I'll show you the plan. If you feel like the plan's going to work for you, then I will at that point show you how we can work together, how much it costs, all of those things. And let me tell you, I'm probably undercharging, so highly recommend getting in now if you do decide to work with me, because I think I'm going to have to put my prices up. Anyway, I just put so much love into it, like there's like 15 hours per person. It's a lot of love. So if we're a fit, we'll go for it. If we're not, totally cool too. But follow me on social media and tell all your friends about me, because I'd love to work with lots of wonderful women. If there's any questions and anyone wants to stick around now, I would love to talk to you. But I've officially finished on time. Yes! Thank you, lovely ladies and gents. I'm going to stop sharing now and see what your little faces look like. There you all are. Hello, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it. You can come off mute and have a little chat if you'd like to. Or you can just disappear quietly. That's fine too.
Thanks, Kath. That was great.
Oh, pleasure. Where are you? Who's talking? Where are you? Oh, there, Lisa. Up on the screen. Good. I'm glad. So was it, like I said, it wasn't new information necessarily, but did it feel like it sort of fit? Does it feel like a presentation I should give again, do you think?
Yeah, I think for me, a lot of what you said in the sense of the broader thinking and the leading with your heart, which is something that I have been feeling a lot more recently. So that really resonated with me. And I felt that connection or that disconnection from the mind and being programmed in, indoctrinated into some of the old styles of what we were brought up with, and then shifting into your heart speech and coming from your heart, it impacts people in a different way. Yeah. So, and then finding that, and, extrapolating out from what you said in the sense of find your flow. Yeah. For me, I'm in the heart space, and I'm then now following where that goes to get then into that flow space.
Which takes a lot of trust, like it's because this is the thing, like over the last couple of years, all the structures have fallen down, that cause and effect that we used to rely on so powerfully because of the power structures in the world. And this is me getting a bit sort of,
I'm with you.
Yeah. But what's happening is the energy has completely shifted, and and I talk a lot to my energy coach about this. We have to co-create. Like now is the time where we can actually create whole new ways of being. Mm-hmm. Like in my mind, and seriously, I get tingles when I talk about this. Like I do believe that humanity could create a utopia. We are on either the brink of destruction or utopia, and it's kind of that vast.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So this is what, like someone was saying to me the other day, actually at Mira's catch up. She's like, "Oh, you're a real risk taker with your business," and I'm like, no, I've actually got a really, like with investing and things, I've got a really low tolerance to risk. But with this, she's like, "Oh, what would you call it?" And I'm like, I'm just so like I can't not do it. Like I feel like this is that important.
Yeah.
That every time I show up, however I show up, that it ripples out, and it does. And I almost see it. And this is why I was so affected by lockdown. I see when you shine your light, I see the ripples that it's have like in our visualization, which is part of the strategy together. I see it. And all these ripples will eventually meet up with other people's ripples, and we will change the world. Like, I know I sound like an evangelist.
Well, I agree with you. It's those butterfly wings, and like that planting the seed. It's not to convince or change somebody's mind. It literally is to just softly influence.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly, and that's what I love about this concept of the undercurrent. I've got another business with my sister. It's called One of Many, and one of the before we named it One of Many, because this was back in 2014, and I'll never forget. We went to this brand strategist. First person said she was American, and Ali. Do you remember Ali Brown? Did you ever have anything to do with her? Big shoulder pads, bright pink, like. I'm a dude in a blazer, that vibe. And, like yell at you. And she's like, I just don't get one of many. It's like, shouldn't it be like one too many? And I was like, if you, yep. But no, not for us. So we stood up with that and created like this kind of anti-guru thing back then. And that's taken off, and there's a couple of women here tonight that are in that community, and I just love where that's gone. But one of the names that we were going to call that, and it's stuck with me ever since, and I think that it didn't stick with that because it actually fits better with me, is this idea of the undercurrent. And I just love that because it's not pulling, it's not forceful, it's not a downward pressure. It's let's just bubble up together. It allows space for effervescence. It allows space for joy to be transformational, for fun to be transformational, and play instead of like I was doing an alchemy today for this woman who just, when I met her on the screen, was just like all yellow effervescent. She just looked like a glass of champagne, like she just had that vibe. I was just like, oh God, I hope you say yes to working with me. And just instantly this whole movement just created out of her, and this alchemy is just, it was so easy to write her alchemy today. It was just like, wow, and this thing, and we've got these yellow birds, and it's going to be this movement, and it's going to be,
I have done some mentoring with some professional women, and, in the corporate wheel, which I've recently broken out of. And one of my things I come in with, I do group mentoring, it's just volunteer work. So my first message to them is your responsibility in your life is to seek happiness and joy.
So true.
And so the challenges they come into the mentoring group with shift.
Yeah. Yes.
Right away.
Exactly. This happened to one of my clients. She was thinking, she did the One of Many coaching certification, and she thought that she might go off and be a coach, but she'd also got offered this amazing gig as a leader in this travel company. She manages 30 people, but the company's like 10,000 people worldwide. And I caught up with her again the other day to see how her alchemy had worked for her, just to make sure that follow right through to the end and make sure it's still really powerful. Because when I hand it over to people, like the reaction mostly is either tears of relief or tears of, fuck, I miss her. Like, I love her and I know that's me and I'm here and she's there, and I need to sort of bridge that dissonance between the two. And which I've got a program for too, because I had to. Didn't really want to be coaching, but I think that it's more of a facilitated space where I'm like, and I'll just be here to love you. And anyway, so I caught up with Debbie again, and she said, do you know what? Like this alchemy, she said, well, I sat down to think about what I wanted to tell you. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized just how much of a ripple impact it has. And not the alchemy, because all that is permission for her to be her, right? That's it. So she just started showing up as herself. And what happened? All of a sudden, like there's quite a few of us here that are probably a bit woo-woo, as we sort of say, which is totally derogatory and we shouldn't even say it. But but it's something that just kind of identifies it. Well, she's one of those people, and she wanted to go into this quite corporate travel company, and be herself and lead as her authentic self. So she just started doing it. She started just being her unique contribution, and started bringing the visualization that we'd had of her up in this like crazy castle and the village and all these weird and wonderful things that came up in a visualization. And she took that into the energy of the workspace. And within a week, she said there was 3 people that just magically started having crystals on their desk. And then the next week, a whole lot of the staff issues, frustrations that were going to be sort of performance managed and handled with a box ticking exercise just disappeared, because they started to, so she implemented a coaching program that was built out of her alchemy. And all these problems just started to disappear because they started seeing each other as humans rather than a skill set, which is how corporate hires, right? It's just, you're a set of skills. And even though right now the job market's pretty tight, but you're still replaceable. You know, everyone feels replaceable, they act replaceable. And so everyone became a human all of a sudden, and they started seeing each other as a whole person instead of a set of skills. And so all of these problems have disappeared, to the point where she's now getting calls from head of like top of the 10,000 people level saying, what are you doing over there? And can you come and start teaching us how to do it too?
Boom.
Yeah. And I was like, are you for real? Like, so she said, I don't feel like I'm doing anything though. I'm just showing. I said, no, that's what I mean. It's that easy. You just have to show up, like actually show up. Yeah.
And that, again, that ripple effect from the top, another layer of leadership, which will benefit the other people.
10,000 people.
You know, and for them to shift into gear, for her to give them permission to be themselves by being her own self.
Can you imagine?
You know?
Like, it's, that's what I mean. Humans love to make it hard, but it isn't. I'm not saying that there's not things that you need to manage along the way. Like, I got divorced. I met a new partner. I had to teach him about me. I had to integrate a child into his life. There's a whole bunch of things that weren't easy, but they were easy because I have this mindset, you know, rather than, yeah, poor me, you know.
Yeah, and letting go of things that don't resonate. I think we have a lot of honoring of things that don't fit us. And so if we walk away from our commitments, we feel shamed or negativity around them, either from our own self-judgment or from others. That's right. The choice to walk away from things that no longer align, they may have aligned once, takes courage.
Totally.
And then the patience of waiting for the space for things that do align rather than grabbing the next thing that comes along.
So hard. That space is so uncomfortable sometimes. Yes, Mira's like, yes, the void. That was me for all of 2021. I was just like, oh, I know this alchemy is the thing that needs to happen right now. And I was really scared to do it with someone that was still in quite a masculine energy and wasn't sort of open to this. But I challenged myself to do it with a colleague of mine who I met through Matthew, and she was an HR consultant. And like, she's a, you know, get shit done chick, you know. And when I first met her, she was the very first person I pitched the Impact Alchemy idea to in a late night Zoom session, you know, in lockdown. And she said, I think this has got legs. Like, corporate's a long way behind, and I really think that this is, you know, it's got legs. But I knew that she didn't know just how right brain spiritual it was going to be. And I knew she wasn't ready for it. So I told her, I'll do it for you for free when you're ready. And she wrote to me a couple of times to say she was ready. And I was like, nah, I can tell she's not ready. And then finally, just about 2 months ago, she started doing a bit of coaching with someone for about 6 weeks, and she was open. Feel her energy open up. And I called her and I said, do you want to do that alchemy now? And she said, yeah, I'd love to. And so I brought her here, and she's lying on that couch, and I've wrapped her up in a blanket, and I've started doing this visualization with her. And I was thinking, like, you know, stop judging yourself, Kath, just go with it. You know, you're good at this, like, just, you know, but that was the void too. Like, don't, you know, should I just, because I can get there with just questions that sound, I can get there because I can read between the energetic lines, but should I do my whole process on her? And I was so unsure, but I thought, just own it and do it. And so I did. And at the end, she was just like, okay, how the fuck did you do that? Like, how did you know when I was on that cliff that I was going to jump and, and the parachute, and I was like, I don't know. But it just happens, and that's fun. And then she took her alchemy to all of these people she used to work with, like in shipping logistics and really boring spaces that are very like that, and showed it to her old bosses and are like, what do you reckon? Does this sound like me? And they're just like, holy crap, like that is so you. And so just for her, the wonderful thing is for her, that external validation to go, oh, so what I thought I was, they saw too. And it's not a revelation. It's all coming from you, but it's just so nice to have some
learning, right? So I think sometimes when you have been surrounded by toxicity and mechanism of toxicity,
yes,
you haven't had the authentic mirrors to really advise you or show you, because normally they're the ones trying to bring that uniqueness down.
Yes, because when light shows up, it shines light into the corners, the shadows, and shadows don't like being illuminated because they're shadows,
Yeah. So really sometimes it's the incongruency you need to look at to find your uniqueness rather than...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you for that beautiful contribution, Lisa. It's nice to have a chat. Does anyone else have anything they want to say or offer? Just looking into the chat channel. Not to learn to not use force and find answers. Yes, in that void instead of just letting them evolve. Yes, totally. The creative evolution. I probably could have launched this program, October last year if I'd pushed it, but I just knew it wasn't ready. The timing wasn't right. And I also knew that when I did launch it, I had to be ready to go because I knew it was going to go. So that's why actually after the impact generator, the women that came through the beta test of that with me then said, well, I love this profile, now what? And I was like, what do you mean now what? And I said, that's you, go be her, just do it. And they're like, no. I said, well, what do you want? They said, oh, just to spend like another year with you. I was like, oh, really? Because I'm a creator, not a maintainer, right? So I'm like, then I'm like, all right, on this condition, I'm not coaching you. I'm just showing up fortnightly for a call, and we're just going to keep talking about your impact alchemy, and we're just going to keep exploring, things like how your fulfillment principles can inform your customer experience, and what happened was so interesting, that they just started. It was very unformulaic, and I left it like that. I was like, I'm going to demonstrate what I'm talking about here, which is to be okay without structure, because I really believe in flexible frameworks. So every impact alchemy I do follows a sort of system, but they're different every time because I base what people have said that they want out of it as the output that I put out. I give them themselves, but if I know that they're going to use it in a business sense, then I'll give them a bit more over here. And if it's a corporate, I'll do it more like that over there. And I keep wanting to make it more structured and formula and box ticky, but I keep pulling myself back and going, no, this is exactly what you're representing, is the undercurrent, the ability to move like that and read the energy and give people what they need to meet them where they're at. So I presented the Impact Generator, which is a 4-month facilitated space, very small group thing where people show up with their alchemy, and we basically spend that 4 months embodying it. Some of them come in and design a coaching program, and I'll layer that in on top with some consulting and things. But the generator is this baseline, just space where you can show up practicing being her again. And then they bring me things like, Sarah is a professor at a university in Wellington in New Zealand, and the first week she went out and started doing the activations that I gave her in the alchemy, and she got this feedback from one of her students, wrote an email, said, that was the most inspiring lecture I have had in 4 years of university. And it was just because she showed up as the joy igniter. Her content wasn't any different, but she just went in consciously choosing to ignite joy in this lecture. And it transformed everything. So that's how her day started. But then she turned up to a leadership meeting with a whole lot of male professors. They didn't like the light being shone. They didn't like being there, having their joy ignited, because, you know, it's very serious, universities. And so she came back to me and she's just like, oh my God, like, what do I do? And I said, well, what's your choice? What do you want to do? Do you want to listen to them? And I said, you know that they're kicking and screaming because the structures are falling down, right? Like, things aren't working out their way anymore. So do you want to help them feel better about it and put a Band-Aid over it, or do you want to just keep joy igniting? She's like, all right, I'll go back and joy ignite again. And now she's just totally on this pathway to creating retreats for other academic women to do the same thing, and sort of step in. So it's just, you know, it's tricky because there's no real promise at the end of the alchemy, right? Like, it's not like, hey, here's your website or here's your coaching program or whatever. It's just kind of, here's you. What do you want to do with it? Let's see. And we can do all sorts of magic with it. I'm actually in the generator. I've created some good strategic relationships, and I'm continuing to do so with other people that have got cool stuff to offer that I know are better at that. So with this one group that I'm about to take through, we have developed a coaching program version of it. The first 8 weeks we're embodying the alchemy, and the second 8 weeks we're actually developing their coaching program. But I know how to do the sales and front end stuff. But I found, I've been interviewed on a podcast of this gorgeous woman called Jamal, who's amazing at creating course content and meeting learners' objectives and crafting your actual course to be a really profound and meaningful experience for your learners. So she's going to come on and do 4 masterclasses with this particular group. So I'm always looking for co-creators, because I don't have to do it all, and neither do you. That's the other cool thing about you knowing your unique contribution, where you know your gift starts and ends. You don't have to do everything, and you can just kind of go, you know, I'm just one little amoeba moving over here with my ripples. You know, who wants to do amoeba with me? Yeah. Anyway, you babble. Could be here all night talking to myself.
Except we're all still here.
Yeah,
Can I just highlight and preface that, right?
This funny one woman comedy show. Yeah.
I mean,
that's what I mean. Like, I just show up and say to you guys, and you listen to me. What's that about?
What radio station did we tune into? What is this radio station?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I do. I am going to put out a podcast eventually. But anyway, oh my God, seriously.
Fun. I'm like in already. Sign me up. And I want to come and join.
Yay, good. Yes. We're going to call it Impact Nation. Well, that's what I wanted to call it until I Googled that the other day and thought, you know, like, I always come up with these amazing names, and then, you know, you go to Google it and then some idiot's already taken it. Turns out there's a really big church cult called Impact Nation. I'm like, do I care, or should I just do it anyway? I feel like I'm just going to do it anyway. You know, I think they're going to be able to tell the difference. It's probably worth mentioning that to you, Dom. Like, you know, I'm going to put that in the awards. No, it's not the cult. Could be different, though.
Impacting the nations, maybe.
Yes, yeah. Maybe I'll call it the Impact United Nations. How about that? You know, it's a bit more like a peace summit. Yeah. I'm totally using Who Wants to Amoeba with me. Nice. Dom is, I've decided to be a bit brave and put myself out for some awards, because there seems to be all these other women putting themselves out and becoming finalists for awards that, you know, and I'm like, oh, surely I haven't done enough. I'm not good enough. And I was like, oh, shut up and just do it. So I just hired Dom to do my award application, and she's a total gun. So I'm very excited that I've got someone that's, yeah, well, you know, I haven't got anywhere with it yet. I might not win anything. I might not even be shortlisted, but I'm doing it because I'm trying to be visible, you know. I'm trying to fight back against the 15-second TikTokers that just, you know, cruise down on their skateboards to Stevie Nicks, you know, with so many followers but zero impact. Like, I'm just trying to, you know, they're probably winning influencer awards right now. I feel like I need to just throw my hat in the ring just on the off chance I've got something more profound to say. All right. So, should we go or should we just keep hanging? We probably should go. All right, beautifuls. I'll send you all a workbook tomorrow. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was meaningful and helpful. I know it's, you know, like there's no new ideas, as much as I'd love to be the creator of one, but I haven't found one yet, so I'll just keep being me. All right. I'll catch you all really soon. I hope I have a call with a couple of you. Big love. Thank you so much for coming. All right. See you.
Bye.
Bye.